Welcome to Radical Joy. My name is Sister Maryann Seton Lopiccolo, and I am the Episcopal Delegate for Religious here in the Diocese of Brooklyn. The diocese, as you know, has long been known as a diocese of immigrants from its beginnings until the present day. Early waves of newcomers from European countries settled here and built the churches and parishes to welcome their own people. Where else can you walk a 6-block radius and be in another national parish, be it Polish, Irish, Italian, or German? The Brooklyn Diocese opened worship sites, and soon after that, religious sisters and brothers from those countries came to serve the children in schools and others in hospitals and all kinds of needed service. Well, the Diocese of Brooklyn is still a diocese of immigrants, but now with many people from many different countries. The large Latino and Hispanic population is present in almost every neighborhood, both Brooklyn and Queens, with the growing population of Africans, Caribbeans, and Asians from Korea, China, and Vietnam. This new picture is also reflected among some of our religious who serve their cultural populations and beyond that too. Presently in the diocese, we have about 39 international congregations and 161 or so religious from these countries. This is out of 94 congregations of sisters, brothers, and religious order priests that total 912 religious. Joining me now, we will meet the sisters who live at St. Agatha Convent in Brooklyn. Sister Amelia Seidel, Sister Patricia Riley, both Sisters of Mercy, and Sister Mary Peraza, a sister of St. Joseph. They have been at St. Agatha's for differing lengths of time, and among them have seen many changes there in the parish and also in the local community. Well, welcome and thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate your coming to just talk to us about your experience of living at St. Agatha's Convent for many years and not so many years, but just some of the changes that I'm sure you've seen in the parish and also within the convent. Can you tell me a little bit about those changes?
We have young people now, which we didn't have before, and they are very active and very alive. So it's very different because we were more settled, more quiet. But it's wonderful to think that they would come to another country, learn another language, etc. Very, very difficult. But we are thrilled to have them with us.
Isn't that great?
Yeah,
that's
great.
Wonderful. Great, yeah. What about the neighborhood? That has changed so much over the years.
I grew up in the neighborhood when it was Norwegian.
Okay.
So I'm going way back. But, you know, it went from mostly Hispanic with the American influence in the parish. And now we have just as many Chinese people coming into the church. Our morning mass is equally divided between Chinese and Hispanic parishioners. But luckily we have the priests who go for, you know, take care of each group, and they feel very united.
Right.
So the parish has changed greatly since the amount of time I'm there.
Yeah. Well, that whole area of Brooklyn is so different now. Pat, you lived over at Angel Guardian.
Right.
I'm sure there were changes in that part of the neighborhood too.
It was sad to see because for the 20-some-odd years that I had lived and worked there, it was closing, and another sister and myself were the last ones to leave the convent there. So to come here to live again with more sisters, it was different. It was an adjustment as well, but a good adjustment. I've been happy to be there. And I came actually after Sister Delegate and Clara were living there first. So I was a newcomer. I didn't have to greet them. They greeted me.
They greeted you. Tell me about this adjustment. I mean, you really had a kind of a quiet, sedentary, normal convent life. And then I came asking, could we have some rooms for sisters who were coming, both for ministry and for study? Was that a difficult adjustment? I know now the fruits of it is you're enjoying it, but the anticipation of that, was that a difficult adjustment? Or?
Well, the beginning, it was an adjustment because we were nervous. I was nervous about how is this going to work? You know, first of all, our age, and they're younger. They're going to be going to school. They don't know the language. They don't know the food. Their food is very different. So it was a little anxiety producing. But they settled in quite nicely in the very beginning. I think for them was, you know, our language is so difficult that it was hard. You know, sometimes they had to say something twice, and we may have had to say it 3 times. So, you know, but it worked out very well. They adjusted quite nicely, and so did we to their food too. I mean, you know, that was the condition. They would pray with us, and we would eat together and everything. And so it managed, you know, gradually.
Yeah. Well, like anything, when you have 1 or 2 new people in a community, it's a new community. But to invite and welcome people from not just another community, but another culture and another generation has had its gifts. And
it is very different, and it's I think all good. I mean, just as we sit at the dining room table, 3 of us might sit at the dining room table and be up in a half hour. We never get up in less than an hour anymore. And it's always with a lot of laughing. It's always with a lot of joy. They've brought such enthusiasm and generosity. I mean, they're wonderful to have in the house.
What about in the parish community? I mean, with the intercommunity and intergeneration, are the parishioners aware of such a nice mixture of sisters in the house?
Yes, they are, because they see the mass in the morning, and they you know, they read, they take part in it, and the Chinese, of course, know the Chinese sisters. But when the Vietnamese sisters came, then they knew we had new sisters, and they were anxious to know about them, and they're very interested in them. Rosa went to make her final vows in the summer, and people missed her. You know, what happened to her? Where'd she go? And Sister Maria went with her, and they're very concerned about when they were coming back.
And there was a wonderful parish celebration
for her
After
she came
that,
home.
yes, I remember. I was
and
at that.
it's and they partake in everything we do. And of course, Electa, they know they take part in a lot of the things that the parish community is doing. And their presence.
Yeah, and I'm sure that your presence and your experience, if I can say that, you know, as we get older, we have lots of that, has been helpful for them too. You know, I know, Mary, that you do help them with their papers and their study a bit. You want to tell us a little bit about how that is for you?
Well, it can be stressful at times because they don't always give me time ahead of work time to get things done. But I cannot imagine what it's like to take a college course in a foreign language and do a 7-page paper on it. You know, and many times it's just a question of misinterpreting a question, giving the wrong answer. Most of the time it's correcting verb endings, it's correcting, you know,
so like editing,
grammatical errors, editing. But sometimes it's explaining, no, you have to start that one over.
Right.
And it really, it can be stressful because it's due tomorrow, sister. I have one waiting for me when I go home. But, you know, it's all good.
What struck me was that they were so attuned to doing something. You know what I mean? Like right away they would hop in and you know, do stuff. And that takes a little courage when you're in a strange place and you don't know. And the language, of course, I found hard in the beginning. You know, for them to understand me and for us to understand them. And of course, you know, we have expressions that
I know.
You know, it takes a lot of explaining.
But it was good. In the beginning, it took a while to get used to it and to get into the niche. But I mean, it didn't take them and it didn't take us really long to do that. And we're just so happy to have them. We can't. I mean, Rosa and Maria were in the summer. We didn't. You know, it was like you were missing a part of your family. You know?
Well, that's what happens when you form good community. You really do miss the other members.
Their presence has given us such an insight into the culture that I didn't know. Even with the Chinese people moving into the parish, we saw them, but I really didn't know much about their culture, the history, and to hear the stories of these sisters, which come very naturally. We all talk about our past. It's such an insight into who is all around us in our neighborhood now.
Right. It's wonderful. It's just, it's a wonderful thing. And I think it's a gift to the diocese, and it's a model for what other local communities can do, you know, that it's worked for you and you've grown and you really have grown into one community.
The big thing too is food, you know, when they say, oh, they make something and they're so generous and they cook all these wonderful things and it smells good. And they say, would you like some? And I say, most of it, the three of us say, what is it? And is it spicy? Oh, no, it's not spicy. But now they know. They say, oh, yes, it is spicy.
They'll tell the truth.
They'll tell the truth.
That's great.
I can say for me, it's been a beautiful experience. It's been a blessing. I'm the oldest one in the house, so they really treat me like great-grandma.
Okay.
And, I mean, you drop something on the floor, they're there to pick it up. At lunchtime, as Sister was saying, they pick up whatever they're going to eat for lunch, but it's always when I come in, have you eaten yet? I'll give you half of mine. It's always sharing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm grateful to them for all that they have done for me.
Oh, that's wonderful. Wonderful. I think it's been complimentary too. I'm sure your presence brings something to them as well. Well, thank you so much for coming and for sharing. It's just been wonderful to hear from you what your experience has been. It's been great.
All good.
All good.
All good. All good. And that's what
Absolutely.
we like to hear. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Radical Joy. Today I have Sister Delegate and Sister Clara here with me. I just want to hear from you, like, what's your experience of living here in the Diocese of Brooklyn, which perhaps is very different from anything or any place you've lived before. And tell us a little bit about what that experience was like when you first came.
First time I just came from the Philippines, so first time I came here, feel so cold. Oh, here long time I never experienced this kind of cold weather. So, compared before, this is another world for me. So, but I'm really like this weather because I was grown up. My country is the same weather as here. That's why I'm enjoying this weather.
Okay, so you were spoiled when you were in the Philippines because it was so warm.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, good. So you felt the cold was a big
yes,
adjustment.
very cold. Yeah.
How about you, Delegate?
For me, it's like because when I just arrived, a friend of me asked me, "Oh, how is America?" I said, "Wait a moment, because I don't know yet. I feel like I'm in China." Because on 8th Avenue is like all of Chinese, full of Chinese. So I said, okay, let me see for a while. So that's my first expression of like, oh, this is America, but you know, in Brooklyn. So a lot of Chinese. That's my first experience.
Right, especially in your parish and in
Yes,
your neighborhood in
very
Brooklyn.
yes.
It's a very Chinese community.
Yes.
So to have some of that at-home feeling was
Yes,
okay.
yes.
It was a little welcoming
Yeah,
for you.
yeah.
Good. Tell us about your ministries. What is it that you're doing working for the church in Brooklyn?
I work in the Regina Patrice. I have the Bible study. I give the class for Bible study. Also, I go to the nursing home, visit and bring the Holy Communion to the elder people. So also go to the homebound, bring the Holy Communion to them.
Wow.
Then also we have the RCIA, just class, so every Tuesday. So besides that, also I cooperate with the Italian priest who is the one in charge of the Chinese group. So I cooperate with him, so take care of the Chinese group, because the Chinese group is smaller, so in the beginning, so a lot of work needed to do. So we work there, so I'm happy to do it.
Good. So when you're working with this Italian priest, is
Yes,
that what you said?
Italian.
Are you translating for him or helping?
He knows the Chinese.
Oh, he does.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you're
he
working together with him.
Yes, we work
Okay.
together.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
It's great to be able to.
Yeah, also I charge the Eucharist minister for the whole parish.
Delegate, tell me about yours.
I work as the pastoral associate. Actually, mostly I thought it's with the Chinese group, like the lectors, the choir, and also from the start I taught catechist for the Chinese children for 3 years. But also I have worked like as translators or mediators with to work with the Spanish groups, Spanish speaking groups. So for the Chinese, and then especially for church activities, when we have like trilingual mass or processions or celebrations. But now I'm teaching the Chinese, the English catechism, because now we put the Chinese into the English program.
Oh.
Since we don't really have enough Chinese catechists, and then also the language of the children, they are the English. The English is better than the Chinese, so
Right.
yeah, we put them together.
Good. Wow, that's wonderful. So are you enjoying your ministry? You
Yes.
both have a pretty full agenda. You have a pretty full week.
Yeah, it's really, it's really pleasant to work with the Chinese and also the Hispanic people. They are very, like, even though some, they don't know English, but when they say, oh, sister, kind of like you are a family with them.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, good.
I also want to add, so because there are many Chinese people just in the near the church, beside this school. So I notice most of them, they are not Catholic. So we want to evangelize them, but we find a way to teach the English. So we open the English class, basic and second and third level. So through the English, so we evangelize. But now some people, even though not yet become Catholic, but now their mind is changed already. They know God is exist. Before they don't know God is exist. So before, how do I evangelize through the class? Because during class I give them short story, tell them short story, and about knowledge about God. So let them to have the idea God is really exist. I'm so happy because now some students is they really, oh, God is really exist. It's changed the mind as before. Now there is some students want to join now this year start to the catechism class already.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
that's wonderful. I know one of Bishop DiMarzio's big aims is to keep working at the new evangelization, because as he says, there are so many people that we're not touching, and bringing into the faith. So it sounds like you're trying to do that just through teaching English, and then through that introduce them to the faith. Do you find that that's happening also in your parish?
A lot of people come and just for to know, like the basic, what is Catholic, so kind of like, especially some, if I say the truth, is like undocumented, and probably they also sick, the church can help them. So they come to church and they study. And then eventually I experienced that through the study, and then it's really changed a lot of their beliefs and their, deepen their faith. Not so change their, probably they came for another reason, but now they're really in the faith. Yes. Yeah. And they are really eager to search more deeper, about the relationship with God.
That's wonderful. That's a wonderful thing. I just think it's great, the work that the both of you are doing, and reaching out to so many people, and young people. Like when I have visited St. Agatha's, I notice how many young people are participating in Mass and the celebrations and all of that. Now, I haven't visited Regina Pacis, but I'm sure it's the same thing.
Yes, they
So
have
if we
many
can
activities.
engage the youth again into church and what it means to be a believing person, then I think we've done some good
That's
work.
why we put many altar servers. I mean, for the Chinese, we get, who can as altar servers, so that, encourage them to come.
Sure, because the participation is so important. Talk a little bit about living in community with your sisters inside the convent at St. Agatha's. We heard from the older sisters, but now what's it like for you?
I experienced that from the beginning. I even shared with the sisters often that I felt the welcome. And then it's like their openness and their welcoming spirit is really make me feel like there's no boundary between our different congregations and different ages. No, it's like, I also say that it's a blessing really for me, or so maybe for Sister Clara the same. It's also a good experience that we can learn, listen to their stories, to see, how they dedicate their lives, like they're left to be a religious sister, like 60 years,
That's right.
70 years. That's really touching.
That's a model for us to follow,
yes,
right?
motivation, yes.
Yeah, good. Do you want to add anything?
Also, first time I came here, I felt we are welcomed by sisters. So because in Chinese people, we cooking is totally different from the U.S. Because we cook with the oil and the smile. But the sisters say, oh, you cook whatever you want. So we feel comfortable and we feel at home.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for coming and for sharing with us. This has really been a rich experience. And we'll be right back. Welcome back to Radical Joy. I'm joined by Sister Nak and Sister Bic, both sisters from Vietnam.
Yes.
But when I first met you, those weren't the names that you had.
Yes.
Like, well, what happened? Now, we know you by different names. Tell us that story.
You see, my name is in Vietnam. You see, I thought that it's very beautiful name in Vietnam. But when we came here, it's difficult for the people to call. So when we come to the Paris, so Father Do Pastoral, so he thought that we need to change the name for the sister too easy to call. So because I was born on October, so Father Do give me the name is Rosa.
Rosa,
Yes.
okay, for October, for Saint
Yes,
Therese,
to
good.
remember,
Yeah. And my feast day is in the April, and also for the Blessed Virgin Mary. So he gave me the name Maria.
Maria.
Yes.
So, because we know you as Rosa and Maria.
Yes.
Yes.
Right, so wonderful. So tell us a little bit about your community.
We work with the poor in the teaching, like catechism, education, and we also have some health care and some charity activity.
And are there many sisters in your community?
Right now we have more 500 sisters in my congregation.
More than 500. Wow,
Yes.
so it's a big community, and I
Yes.
bet it's growing, is it?
Yeah, and
Wonderful.
we are young community also.
Young community.
Yeah.
Well, I can see from the two of you that
Yes.
you're young, but the community itself is young as well.
Yeah.
So then you came to the Diocese of Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yes. So tell us about that.
Yeah, the first thing surprised me when I came the St. Agatha Church. I thought that it's like American church, but not. And I still remember, I attend the first Mass with 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Chinese. So I wonder, what? I come here to learn English. Why too much another language? Not only one language. Yeah, but later on, I recognize that, even though they are different language, different culture, but they like very, very friendly, they very good, and special. They have very deeply Catholic life. And I learned from them a lot, also from the sister.
Wonderful, wonderful. I understand that you also volunteer in the parish.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
We teach the catechism for the kids, the English class. From the 4th grade to 8th grade, we meet together with them.
Most of your time is taken up with studies.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about where you're studying and what that's like for you.
We study at St. Francis College, and my major is adolescent education to take English.
Oh.
Because my superiors, I know study education is very difficult, and my professor tell me about that. You study education in here is so difficult for you for the in second language.
Yeah.
So when I asked her about it's difficult like that, so she said that because it's difficult, so I would like you to study that, because in Vietnam we really need more education. Education very important in my country. That education give us more knowledge, to give us more, to build us for opinion, and everything get better by education.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And Sister Maria, what are you studying?
I study psychology.
Oh,
Yeah.
psychology.
Yeah,
Tell
I
us
love-
about that.
Yeah, I love psychology.
Mhm.
Yeah, even though the more they get harder, like more research paper, more reading. Yeah, but it's so interesting.
So are you both enjoying your studies
Yes.
at St. Francis?
Yeah.
Good.
Yes, we enjoy when usually, it's hard for us to study because it's second language. But I feel that I'm very happy because I have a sister in here to support us. Kind of I have a tutor for Sister Mary. Sometimes it's usually a week we had 1 or 2 for the homework. But sometimes it come many things for the same time. So I feel that God helped me for give the Sister Mary for me.
Right, you're keeping Sister Mary busy, that's for
Yeah.
sure, both of you.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So tell me about living in the convent with all the sisters, because you have so many different groups of sisters. So what is that like for you?
We have many the congregation, kind of the Sister of Mercy, Sister of Saint Joseph, and two Chinese sister, and both of us. So I feel like that very close. They very close with me, kind of the like the families, and like the sister from congregation. They always support, share the generous spirit with me. So I may ask God's blessing each of them.
That's wonderful.
To me,
That's
yes.
wonderful. What has been challenging to live in that kind of a group?
Yeah, I could say that language. Yeah, even though in the conversation, when the first time or the first year I came, when I talk with them something, I ask the sister something, they answer the correct thing, but I misunderstand. And later I did wrong. Yeah, so that's, but the sister very patient to me, always help us, correct us, and help I feel that my English improved a lot. I feel really a real family, very warm, very peaceful. Even though we have many generations live together. But I recognize that the sister give us the best love, like we are the baby in the family.
So it's really been a very gifted time for you to be here with us and to study and to live with the sisters and just learn so much. Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
It really
thank
has
you,
been a
sister.
joy to have you with us tonight.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Radical Joy, and we'll see you next time.